In this video, we'll be replacing the rear shock in this 2007 Mazda CX-9. We'll remove our rear wheel. It's going to be a 21 millimeter. We'll go ahead and take off our lug nuts now. Next thing we're going to do is remove our lower shock mount. It's going to be a 17 millimeter on both sides. So to remove your shock out of this bracket, you see actually this sleeve here is sitting in a little U channel, so you're not able to just pry straight out. You actually have to go up and out. Pry up. Now inside our trunk, we'll see a couple of different compartments here. On the passenger side, we have one with just a little pull string. We're going to pull up, rotate over, we can remove this cover. Now our trunk floor, in the back here behind our third row, we have a handle. We're going to lift that up. We're actually going to pull up the entire floor here, which means we're going to pull straight up, grab a hold of that plastic tray underneath, and lift this piece up and out. So now that we have our trunk floor exposed, we can see we have our Bose unit here and a cover going right across the top of that. We're going to lift out and remove this cover. It'll be held in by a couple of clips. So now right back here we have a couple of retainer clips for your luggage in the back. What we're going to need to do is open up the covers on those clips. You'll see 10 millimeters inside there. Now, to be safe, just go ahead and close that cover, leave that bolt right in there, set those aside. I have one more right here. From here we can move straight up, we can pull our hooks out. You can see right behind here we have two 10 millimeter bolts. Go ahead and pull your hooks right out. And again, if you want to, just leave your bolts in there, close the hooks on them. Moving straight up here, we have a Phillips screw. So now coming across here, we have this trim panel. We're going to reach up under here from the back, pull straight up. Now this panel is simple enough, we can just go ahead and remove the entire panel by pulling straight up. Okay, so above our cup holder we have one more little cover here. Just going to pop that cover off. Right inside there's going to be a 10 millimeter. We'll just take out the 10. And if we follow that straight down, we'll have one more of our little cargo hooks with a cover. And we have a 10 millimeter inside there. Again, pull our piece right out. There we go. Pull our piece out, put our 10 in there, lock it in there. So now moving down underneath our cup holder, we'll have to pull up our cup holder, get in there with a small flat blade screwdriver or panel tool. Just go ahead and pop up your cup holder. You'll find a 10 millimeter bolt right inside here. Now that you have all your fasteners holding in your interior trim piece removed, what we're going to do is actually remove our gasket here in the back. Just going to grab a hold of that gasket either here or down below, pull that open. And just roll that right up and off. What that'll do is give you a nice little room in the back here to grab a hold of this interior panel. Grab a hold of it here, somewhere in the bottom. We're going to pull inward. Now we can go ahead and grab our panel. We're going to pull this inwards here towards the passenger side of the vehicle. Now your top shock bolt is going to be a 14 millimeter. Nice. Now we can remove that nut. Also, while we're here, we'll remove the rubber isolator and the top washer or top cap. Now remember, there is a right and a wrong way for these to go together. So we'll keep them together and we'll set them aside. Now we can remove our shock from the rear. So now with our top and bottom bolts removed, we can lift our shock up and out. You may have to, at this point, compress your strut by pushing up the bottom to get it out. Now you can just lift it and drop it straight out. Now again, here's our top hardware. Your new shock should come with both top and bottom hardware here as a replacement. So now with our new shock, we're going to guide it into the bottom. So now on the bottom of our shock, right here in our knuckle, you can see there's a little channel where our sleeve is going to fit. So we'll guide it right into that. And what we're going to do is line up our bolt and send our bolt through just to hold our shock in place. We can thread that nut on, just a few threads. And now we can work on the top. So now before we send our shock through the body into the rear of the vehicle, we're going to put our new hardware and rubber isolator in place. Just going to slide them down. Now you can see we can't exactly get this in there, so we're going to have to pull down, compress our shock, and let it go into the hole. Now from here, we're going to have to raise our rear suspension slightly to match this rubber isolator to this opening. So now with the vehicle lowered, we're going to use a floor jack and raise our knuckle. And what we're looking for is in the rear suspension for that rubber hardware or rubber isolator that we installed to be matching up to the body, which right now looks really good, nice and tight. We can now go inside and install the new hardware and the nut. So now in the rear of the vehicle, something you want to make note of is that this center pin comes in the center of this opening. You do your best to get that lined up in the center. You're going to take your new rubber hardware. You're going to have a little extra bit on the bottom of one side and a flat side on the other. This side here is going to go down. And make sure that's in the center there. You're going to take your washer. You're going to sit it down on top. And then we have a nylon lock nut, which will go down on top. So we're going to go ahead and use a 16 millimeter on here and snug that up. Now on the inside, we're going to torque this down to 17 foot-pounds. So now that we have our shock bolted down inside, we can release our floor jack. So now underneath the vehicle, we're going to use our 17 millimeter wrench on the back, 17 millimeter socket on the front. We'll snug these up, and then we'll torque them down. And we're going to torque down the lower bolt to 80 foot-pounds. So now back on the inside, we can start to put our interior trim back together. So we're going to start right here in our window area. There are a few clips on the inside we're going to have to line up and push into place. We'll start by matching up our trim here, our bottom trim with our top trim. And just give it a nice little push back into place. All right, if you look through your holes, you should be very close to flush with your screw holes. That's how you know your panel's just about all the way back in. Do the same thing all the way around. Now we have our clips pushed back into place. We can start by installing our bolts and screws. I'm going to start right here in our cup holder area. We'll finish that with our cup holder. Line it up. From here we're going to go down. We have our little hooks here. And again, we're going to have to open our cover. Now this, easier done if you take your bolt out. Locate the pin. And put your bolt back in. Close your cover. Up top here, behind this cover, we have our another 10mm bolt. To finish that off, we have our cover. Moving back here, right along our cup holder line, we have another hook and our 10mm bolt. And fold your hook down. Right back here we have one more of these little cargo hooks. Flip open our cover, take out our bolt, line up the pin in the back with the hole, and put back our 10mm bolt. Close the cover. Above that we have one of these hooks. We will open the hooks, take out our bolt, put our hook in place, and reinstall our 10mm. Above that we have a Phillips screw. And then lastly we have one more of these cargo hooks right here on the inside, and we'll have to open the cover. Take out our bolt. And close your cover. So now you have your gasket on your rear hatch. Easiest thing to do is just find this seam here where it feeds right into and just roll it on up. Just press it down every few inches and then just work your way back down with an extra press. So on your sill plate, just going to locate your latch here, center it in, just give it a good few presses all the way across. And now we can put our pocket and our cover in place. Just going to lower this down, locate two clips right here and just push down. And to finish that off, we have a cover for our pocket. It's going to go inside in first and drop it down. And the last piece to our trunk is going to be the trunk floor / storage compartment. You just lower this down into place. Open up the top here. You can notice it's a little bit higher. We want to just move this around until we find those pins in the front. Go ahead and close this. We should be nice and level here. Go ahead and put our wheel back on. And what I'll do here is I'll put a top and a bottom lug nut on, and I'll rock the rim back and forth onto that rotor face, try and get it as flush as possible on the back, and then I'll continue with the rest of the lug nuts. Once we have our lug nuts in, we'll come in and snug these down. We'll lower the vehicle on the ground so the wheel won't spin, and we'll torque them down. So now with the vehicle on the ground, we're going to go ahead and torque down our lug nuts. We're going to do that in a crisscross pattern. We're going to torque it down to 85 foot-pounds.
When only the best will do, demand TRQ. The only company that lets you view before you do. TRQ is committed to offering the highest quality aftermarket auto parts that are engineered for peace of mind. Thanks for using and viewing with TRQ.